Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. In this episode, we are going in depth into episode 5 of season 3 of The Mandalorian called The Pirate. Spoilers ahead, so you have been warned. But Akram, this episode showcased a lot of great action sequences and a lot of Mandalorians. So let's get your take.
Yeah, what a fun episode for newcomers. If you just dropped into the show for some reason, or you've been living in a cave, or you watch this episode, I think you'll be convinced it has a little bit of everything. At first, it was like filler, as we said in the last review, but it turned out to be a lot more bigger. And I think it was actually a really strong episode. Again, one of the great things about Mandalorian is that even the filler seems like it contributes something. A really, really great episode. But let's get your thoughts.
Oh, for sure. And it's filled with a ton of great Easter eggs. We get to see live action Zeb. And voiced by Steve Blum, too. That threw me off. I was like, holy. And he looks good.
Yeah, he looks so good.
Great in live action. I think better than that one guy from Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh,
just looked really clean on screen.
Yeah, I think he lost a little bit of weight, and
yeah,
I like his beard. Yeah.
He's in the gym with Groot.
Yeah. They were bodybuilding together. Yeah, well, look, I wonder if the reason why they introduced them is because he might show up in the Ahsoka series a little bit later on. I do hope so. And it's cool. He has a new job change, so now he's like a pilot or an officer of the Republic or whatever you call it. That's really cool. I wish we got to see a little bit more of him, though. I thought that he was going to join the battle a little bit later on. But yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool Easter egg. I like when they just throw in like cool cameos like that. It fleshes out the world and it also like expands on the continuity. I thought that was great for Rebel fans, that have been so loyal to the show. But yeah, so in this episode, it was kind of centered around Greef Karga and also this Republic pilot that we've seen from the previous seasons, Captain Teva.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to get your thoughts. It was interesting. It's kind of this showcase of this new world order, right?
Yeah.
We've been talking about it from previous episodes, how it's like a radical change from the Empire. There's good and there's bad, right? It's like now that the New Republic's been installed, it's like there's peace, but it's like, is there? Like,
not really.
It seems like there's not really an efficient law enforcement.
No, there isn't. There really isn't. I mean, it's fascism with the Empire, and then all of a sudden it's like just a little bit of laziness. It looks like for the general population of the galaxy, the main threats are pirates, all right? And for specific individuals, like that little sect of the Empire. But it kind of reminds me of the High Republic, what they're doing to the Marauders. It kind of feels like sometimes like they shot themselves in the foot because you can't rely on Sith, or you can't rely so much on the Empire. I wish they introduced newer villains, though. I hope it's not always the same pirates or something like that a little bit later on to be the overall threat. Like just a little seed in our mind, like, oh, there isn't just pirates, there's more than that, right? So yeah, I think we talked about this in the previous episode, and we were saying, well, they're not that good as well. Like each fact, because some people, it's like kind of like Fidel Castro, and there's still people in Cuba that was like, yeah, hurrah to Fidel Castro. It's kind of like that with the Empire, right? There's some people that love the Empire. They provide something, and they're like,
or they like the idea,
they like the idea of stability, right? Now here, it's more, I guess, for everybody. After all these years, it's more of like this radical change, and they probably would feel disillusioned with the systems of the New Republic because they aren't really helping too much, or you have to rely so much on the government. And again, what I said in the last episode is I love how Greef Karga is an independent, or has his planet as an independent planet, and they don't rely so much on the New Republic. And so now you have to find different ways to get people to come together, and I think that's a really strong case.
And it's so interesting. It's so coincidental because right now we have the whole Ukraine situation, right?
Yeah.
And they're not part of NATO.
Oh yeah.
So I think it was kind of like touching on those like minor political issues. It's like, what do you do like when you're not officially part of this union?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's they could have at least sent like aid or something, like weapons or something, but I guess it just shows like this new republic has gone back to its kind of bureaucratic roots. And this whole time I'm thinking like, where was Luke Skywalker in this episode? Like, where is his like his new Jedi Order or whatever he was trying to build? I'm like, he could have easily solved this.
Listen, Luke's in Home Depot right now. He's trying to build up.
Yeah. Home Depot. He's so stupid. But in a way, it does kind of fashion this cool new idea. It's like how we were talking a little bit about like the Mandalorians in this episode, and it's like they're kind of reforming themselves, and now in a way they're kind of like the new Jedi, right? They're the new peacekeepers. It's like they've kind of rebranded themselves from these warmongers, and now they're kind of like the guys that, you know, the new sheriff in town, or the lawmen, right?
Although I think that's going to be bad in the future because we don't see them at all in the sequel trilogy. So I wonder if they built, in a way, their own government. Maybe in the future they're going to rebuild Mandalore, or they're just going to stay in
independent or something.
Yeah. And it's like, well, now they're kind of the same thing. They really ostracize themselves from humanity. So I think no matter what again, it's very intertextual with a lot of stuff we see in history. So it makes sense. But it's kind of unfortunate. But this seems like a good start. And it also seems like this episode really does seem like a great tease for the future or spin-offs. It's really surprising. It's just a filler, but it's more than that. With just 5-minute scenes, I think a lot is said with where it may go. And I really appreciate that in the writing. I think the writing was really well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Story-wise, this episode was great. But I want to get your thoughts on the action scenes with the Mandalorian themselves, and they look awesome on screen. The armors, look really cool. They're like very customized. They work together like as a unit really well. Yeah, very tactical. Let's get your thoughts on that.
It was a lot shorter than the coming together scene and the action scene from the Book of Boba Fett, and I feel like it was a lot more well choreographed. Of course, that's what you would expect from Mandalorians. But that action that we seen was very slick, and it was very like gun ho. Kind of felt like a cowboy shootout in a sense, mixed with a little bit of like this militaristic tactical sense as well. I think the armorer was really great. I love seeing her attack people from behind and whatnot. It was a really great scene all around, and I love the costuming too. And I love the communication. I hope we see more of this ensemble. I hope it's not just going to be, who knows, maybe there's going to be just one specific soldier there that maybe we'll get some more screen time with in the future. What did you think about it?
Well, Paz Vizsla, he stole the show for me.
He was great.
This is kind of like his spotlight of, it seems like everybody now went like from a full 360 of who they were like in season 1 or 2. Like Bo-Katan changed, and now Paz Vizsla, now he's like a full I almost said like Biden supporter.
He's a Biden supporter.
He's a full Din Djarin supporter. Paz voted blue. It was cool, like that whole campfire like speech he had. Like at first you thought like it seemed like he was gonna go against like Mando's plan,
right?
And then they actually like put a twist on it, and he actually like supports his idea. And I thought that was really cool that he was mature enough to put, you know, their beef aside, and he remembered that he saved his son. So it just kind of shows that these Mandalorians are so invoked in their honor.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't matter like what they've been through before. They can put that aside and kind of just say, well, you know, now's the time where like we need to come together, right? And the armor even mentions that in this at the end of this episode, where she's kind of building Bo-Katan as this messiah. I wonder if there's some shady intention behind that, but I want to ask you like what you thought of that.
It's a pleasant surprise to see that the armorer is using each one of the covert, each member as like a tool, and she builds tools. So I feel like Bo-Katan is a really valuable tool to be used. And so Bo-Katan seems like she's going to be this liaison. I don't think there's anything malicious behind it, but I worry that Bo-Katan perhaps will slip, and maybe instead of trying to capture the beast and make peace with the beast, she's going to kill the beast. I really don't want to see that, because then I feel like it's going back in the whole narrative structure. But I also think it could be really interesting to see a battle with the beast, and I hope the armorer is involved, because I think it will also be a battle of wits and soul in a way. I think because this is such a mythical beast, it can really be more than just a battle. It could be a battle for your ideology as well. Should we kill the beast?
Battle.
It's a really symbolic battle, especially because they have symbols of this mythosaur. I really hope that they let the mythosaur live. I really hope so, because they killed it before, and eventually Mandalore went downhill, right? It's like, I wonder if they try new ways. I think that's probably the whole theme. It's like trying new things this time, right, and seeing if that works. But at the same time, to be in a tribe, yeah.
Yeah. And they said the whole legend is that the coming of the mythosaur, it's like this phoenix rising from the ashes. It's supposed to usher in a new age of Mandalore, right?
Right.
So I don't think they would want to kill it, because it's so symbolic. It's basically like their deity in a way. Right. And I think Bo-Katan would want it alive to prove that, first of all, that it's real, and second of all, that she has the strength and the willpower to tame it, right? Because that's the whole thing. We've seen Din Djarin, what he had to go through, right? In the beginning, he had to learn how to, mount a beast and tame it. Boba Fett, he even had his own Rancor. So now I think it's Bo-Katan's time to shine, and I think she's actually the perfect candidate, believe it or not. I know this show is about Din Djarin, but it's called The Mandalorian for a reason. It's not called Din Djarin, right? Mandalorian could be anybody that wears the armor and vouches the creed, right? So I think Bo-Katan has been through so much, and all she knows is pain and trauma. And as we've talked about, all her ideas just kind of don't work out. So I think now that she's kind of discovering her new purpose, I don't think she wants to go back to her old ways. I think she kind of wants to take on this new kind of ideology in a way.
Yeah, she should. I think she deserves it. And I think it's, what's the thing about this tribe is that the leadership positions, it seems really well fitted for smaller scale communities rather than just this whole planet. And I wonder if that's why Bo-Katan will probably take over, and the armorer is given Bo-Katan the blessing, probably later on at least. But you have to gather people first, because I think being a great leader, because I think Din Djarin and Bo-Katan are different types of leaders. Where Din is more of a reluctant hero and leader. Bo-Katan, at first she feels like she's this natural born leader. It's her right. But now she soon discovers that it isn't, so she has to kind of earn it. And I think, in a way, perhaps she's the better leader. She resembles the whole rather than Mando that represents the mission.
Right.
And
she's like Jake from Avatar in a way.
Exactly. And she could bring the people together. And also there's a lot of I could see a lot of biblical references in The Mandalorian, because if you notice Grief Cargo, correct me if I'm wrong, but it did kind of remind me of the Moses story. In the beginning, at least, maybe.
Oh, like the Exodus.
Yeah. So I think, of course, that's intersectionality. I think whenever you reference the Bible or any religious text, it becomes a little bit more epic, and it's this old tale that will always resonate with a lot of people. And so I think this passage right now is really, it means a lot. I'm just forgetting my words. I'm sorry, because I'm trying to think of something else.
I think it's interesting that these episodes are called chapters in a way.
Oh,
it's like you're reading a passage from a biblical text or something, right?
Yeah.
In this regard, I feel like we're watching a chapter of Mandalorian history evolve, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it's this page that's stuck together between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, right? We're watching a whole people's history unfold in just a couple of seasons, right? And I think that's so great. I think Star Wars does a great job of combining mythology and historical context in a way, and also science fiction, but it doesn't feel science fiction in a way.
Right.
There's these fantastical elements, but it just feels like it's so naturally portrayed. It's like a mirror image of society in a way.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, that's you need that to make something again resonate with people. You need that. Otherwise, it'll just be an action flick. And Star Wars is a great playground to play inside of. But when you respect it, and again, when you do that, it means a lot. And that's why it stood the test of time for years to come. What else thoughts do you have on? Like, I want to get your thoughts on what we may see though, like coming up.
So
There's a lot teased, and also that end credit thing, kind of. Yeah.
Yes. So Captain Teva has kind of been on this investigation where he is like connecting the dots, and he's kind of, and this was kind of alluded to by Bo-Katan too in that one episode where like there's too many like TIE fighters here for a warlord.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're all kind of thinking it like obviously Moff Gideon escaped, right?
Right.
But now it's confirmed, right? So we see at the end of this episode, Teva, he goes off and he finds this derelict Landa shuttle, and he's looking inside it. Also, I didn't know that apparently like astromechs can have like the little probe thing.
I know. I thought
that was so cool. So he's scanning the ship, and there's a broken cell, and the ship marker is the same date that Moff Gideon was supposed to make it to the trial, and never did. But what's more interesting is that there's a piece of Beskar at the crime scene. I have my theories. I have interesting theories, but I want to get your take.
It's hard to say. All right. Well, first of all, if he's in a transport and he was broken out, he couldn't have possibly just randomly had a Beskar suit inside the transport, being transported to prison, and it's like, I'm gonna kill everybody. And obviously, if that was stuck into the wall, maybe he received damage of some sort. I also had another theory that perhaps somebody has broken him out. That's Mandalorian. We see in the intro animation it changed now, and now they show a Mando helmet covered in a red light, so usually to indicate that there's a villain of some sort. So maybe that's a new character going to be introduced. Or maybe he's working with a new type of covert or convert, and they are kind of like those bad guys that we've seen in Clone Wars. Because this show goes back to Clone Wars so many times. Or he could just be, we'll see him, and maybe he is the new Mandalorian, that he's so disrespectful he's gonna wear the armor somehow. But as for the armor piece there, it's really coincidental. It's kind of weird. So like, let me get your thoughts.
Few things. Number one, I do think Elia Kane is involved. I think she's kind of like his like agent inside the New Republic.
Of course, yeah.
Because how else did they know about the date of his transport, right?
Right.
So I think he kind of like installed her into the New Republic as this kind of like reformed agent, but not really. So I think she's kind of like figuring things out on the inside. Two things. A lot of people were saying maybe like Moff Gideon, because he had the Darksaber, he may have connections to other coverts, like you said, or other clans. I think that's possible. I think definitely he could have access to the Imperial Mandalorians from Rebels. I think that's a definite possibility, because they could still be around for all we know. The other thing I was thinking too was maybe the Dark Troopers, like maybe he had a reserve of Dark Troopers left, and maybe they just had like Beskar armor, but they were already kind of like blaster proof in the other episodes that we've seen them. So I don't know why he would need like them to have Beskar unless they're already made of Beskar. I don't know. So that's another possibility. But yeah, I think definitely we will see Giancarlo Esposito before the show is out, even if it's a tease for season 4. I think definitely there's a big possibility that there's so much they haven't told us yet about how he escaped and what's his next move.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the shrapnel thing was a little bit convenient. Maybe that's why we're super confused. It was like, how the hell did that end up there? But I think you have great points. That'll be really interesting, and that'll be a great way also to tie back to Rebels.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and this episode had so many great, teasers and Easter eggs. I love when Mando said like, "I like those odds." It was kind of like a callback to the stormtroopers he fought in episode, the first season.
Mm.
Even Tim Meadows we got in this episode. I thought that was a great cameo.
Yeah.
It's funny how they managed to like put all these like great ensemble casts, and they find roles just that are perfect for them in Star Wars.
I look at Ahmed Best from the last episode as a Jedi. Yeah, it's like, it's really cool. This show is so great. I hope now it actually feels like it's coming to the bigger picture. It does feel like it is the taste. I think we're going to see a lot more from Katie M. O'Brien's character. I think she's like, that's the thing too. She's like in a really sneaky position. I don't know where you could go with her now. After she killed Pershing, like I really don't know. Are you guys gonna somehow transport her to like a different planet or something? Is she gonna fight Mando at some point? I don't know how much they're gonna utilize her because of course she's probably gonna tie into Moff Gideon. It does seem like he's going to make a return, but I think it's gonna be a return that you will not expect. Or I hope it's not like some cheesy return where he's like wearing the same costume. He's like, "Hi, Mando," or whatever. I hope it's maybe he'll be mixed with like Dark Trooper armor or something like that. Like, I don't know, maybe he'll have like cyborgs. I mean, that's like the archetypal thing they do with like a lot of villains. But yeah, so what would you rate this episode? Let's see, because Dylan always changes his mind after the first review.
It's still a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay, good.
Still solid 9.
Yeah, I give it like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this episode. But everybody, that is our review for episode 5, The Mandalorian, now streaming on Disney Plus. Hey guys, listen, I'm very sleepy, so do me a favor, make me awake and like this video, please, and also check out our other playlists. We're doing week by week reviews for so many shows, and of course
Succession.
Succession on Sunday. We got Succession on Sunday. We had Dungeons and Dragons. We have a lot of stuff coming up in April, so you don't want to miss out on that. We're always trying to improve, and we're always trying to get a lot more content out for you. But Dylan, take us away.
Yeah, guys, check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and of course YouTube. You can check out our lovely faces.
Yes.
And you can follow us on Instagram as well, where we post clips of our socials. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Until then, this is the way.
This is the way. See you guys.